put on notice, and leaders have a big role to play. So I want to reflect a little bit from our scriptures from the New Testament. Jesus began his mission alone, on his own. Not long into that mission, he chose the 12 apostles. Then later, he chose 70 disciples, and he sent them out to go around all the towns and villages to proclaim the good news. Jesus realized he couldn't do this on his own, and he needed others to work with him. This is an important part of Jesus, the way Jesus operates, the way he works. In the principles of leadership, this is called subsidiarity and delegation. Subsidiarity is when, and both delegation is when a leader gives work, part of the mission, to others and trusts them to do it. He delegates the tasks to them. And they went, and they did. And particularly the 70 disciples, they came back rejoicing because they had done it. And part of that, choosing them, subsidiarity and delegation, is to discern, and we've spoken of discernment, discern the character of a person, the ability of a person, the readiness of a person to do it. And that's what Jesus did. So in terms of our spirituality, he allowed them to participate. He asked them to participate in his mission, and he had to discern on the people that he was choosing. So there's a number of things in there from our spirituality and from the principles of leadership. Later, he chose Peter as the leader, and those things were also present there. Chose Peter to step up and participate more. He had to discern on the character of Peter, and also another principle of leadership is the right person in the right place. Put the right person in the right place. So Jesus discerned that Peter was the leader who would take over from him. In the early church, we see the same trend. In Acts of the Apostles, the church actually constructed or put in place new structures, particularly electing to replace Judas, the man Matthias, to become an apostle. Then later, they chose Paul and Barnabas for a mission, and later in the church, there was the emergence of the structure or the leadership structure of elders, presbyters. And this is all the development of the community of the church in response to the situations and the circumstances emerging. Now, with the election of Matthias and Paul and Barnabas, etc., in that era, this was discernment again. There was a process of discernment, taking into account the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Jesus, and there was discernment as to who should take that position. And then in the early part, to about the time with Matthias, they elected the 7 deacons. There was a situation there, a difficulty, which is causing conflict and disruption, and the problem had to be solved. So they discerned how to do it, and they discerned who were the people involved. So discernment is a big part of what leaders need to be able to do. It is interesting too that up until all that I've mentioned, they are lay leaders. There's no priesthood yet at this stage. The word for priest in Latin, sacerdote, does not emerge until about the year 250 AD. So it is all leadership from within the community, and it is shared leadership. You don't get one person rising up to dominate or lead. It is always a shared leadership. And even Paul, when he talks about the gifts of the Spirit, so the gifts are given for the community. So many of the elements we've talked about of spirituality in the church are part of that. Also, there is dialogue in that leadership. And we've spoken of dialogue, and especially the principle that a leader, authority, has the duty to listen and the right to decide. So all those things have been active in the church in the history. So in that again, leaders have a great responsibility. The people have a responsibility to help, support, correct and develop the leaders that they have. So none of us can sit back and say we have nothing to do. I want to repeat again the questions that I gave you at the end of the previous leadership talk, which are, in your community, what sort of leadership do you experience? What style of leadership do you wish to have? And if you are a leader, how do you exercise your leadership? Leadership is part of the church. It is part of our mission. And our mission in that is to have good leaders, responsible leaders, leaders who will work for the good of the church and to continue the mission of Jesus. Have a great day on mission.